have no idea if my HDMI port actually works. The force it.
Yeah, it's just I'm trying to make sure I'm not running into the plastic.
Let me sign in to make sure that's not it.
All right.
0, 0, 0, 0.
Okay, Kanye.
Yeah, hey, maybe it's not broken.
Hey! I think you just, because the plastic is weird, that you just have to like make sure you get it in all the way. I think that's probably what you ran into last time.
I need some laptop room.
Alright, cool. You wanna, can I pull up the slides here? Huh?
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't wanna fuck with your shit.
The only slide we're looking at.
No! No! No!
Alright. This is it. This is the meeting. That's what you wanted, right, Aiden?
Huh?
Is that what you wanted?
No. Please. Anything.
You're the one who made this.
I didn't expect you to become so obsessed with it.
I think it's funny. His eyes are too big.
You look like a bunny rabbit almost.
I don't like that anymore.
Yeah,
Alright. Everyone can see my desktop. I don't like that. That's not bad.
I probably, my laptop is underneath here, so I'm gonna reclaim it.
Yeah, that's fine. I need it.
I need a pedestal.
Okay, this is weird. It's telling me I don't have one display. Broke it.
I'm getting a signal. There we go.
Alright. It is telling me I only have one display though.
You only have one what?
Oh no. Ah, there we go.
This is the photo of me with OMFG dogs open. Like, are you actually adding another bullet point? I already did. On my okay, my screen was just lagging. Never mind.
I found the slides.
No. Where's AJ? He's here. He was in the lab.
he was arguing with Ryan about documentation.
They're still arguing?
Yeah.
Oh, it's never
We have a meeting.
back and forth.
Ryan.
Never end.
There's too many Ryans.
It's
just huge.
Ryan Young. Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Say
Pizza guy.
Are young?
Pizza guy?
Pizza guy.
Papa John's.
Papa John.
That's honestly what we should call him.
That's his.
That's 2 weeks ago
username.
slides.
Is it?
Yeah.
Are you sure?
He asked me
Yes,
to call him
because today is
Rhino.
74.
Right.
Oh yeah, he did.
This is the first
He
thing that
asked
came
me to
up.
call him Rhino, since his name is Ryan O'Connor.
Oh, that's a different Ryan.
Oh, well, yeah.
We're talking about Ryan.
So Pizza Man.
It's in the committees
and
channel, like
Rhino.
always.
I just want to look at this one. What do you mean, like always? It's always in the
Committees?
exec
No!
channel.
It's been in committees for like, since we had the committees channel.
Which was after the execs channel. I don't know.
Yeah.
Oh, I opened it correctly.
Do you have your stuff ready, or do you need
Yeah,
it?
just
Huh?
see. Wait, sorry. Here it is. Oh, that's not it. Here it is.
Cool.
These ones.
All right, cool. Cool beans.
We got a good joke.
And you're all done,
You should
so I
tell me
can
you were coming.
put that
I would've grabbed
online.
your exam from class.
I think so. Yeah, it almost went to the screen.
Did you just get back from the gym?
No, I'm about to go afterwards.
Oh, same.
All right, we'll get started in a minute. We're sort of waiting for.
I know,
AJ is
so-
here. He's just.
6 is like when it gets the most packing up.
We'll be starting soon.
I figure 8, like 7 or 8 would be good. Is it like early in the morning noon or like?
While we're waiting, you might sign in on Slack. The link.
Yeah.
We're signing
I
in
was
on the
there
Google form.
yesterday.
The link is in Slack. So
At
as always.
5:30, and I got to see like it gets so packed. It's
It used to be worse, at least like in terms of.
You guys, too.
and stuff.
Y'all are the ones who never sign in.
Oh, maybe that.
What?
shit.
Yeah, but I don't know if you were here.
You know, if we had like a tablet, we could just always go up to. Just
What I'm thinking is
sign
once
in
we have
on
a
it.
card,
That would
I've got
always
that-
Remind me.
I've got that card reader. We just have everyone swipe the Bearcat
That would
card.
be amazing.
That's what Tribunal knows.
Huh?
That's what Tribunal knows. People have been there.
What club?
Tribunal, they do swipe and Bearcat cards.
Yeah. It's just.
Where do I find this?
It's extremely.
It's in general.
There it is.
Hey.
Oh, that's right. We have an acting president.
Uh-huh.
I ain't even late.
Oh,
I was having a very passionate conversation about.
I heard about this.
Yes.
I know you were having this conversation because you had this yesterday too. The same conversation.
Yeah.
It's important.
It's not over there.
Is Chris Morrison here? Oh yeah, you are.
You mean that guy?
What?
I'm out of it. I'm out of it. It's fucking quiet.
Waiting for you.
Want to get things started, or we gonna wait a little longer? Or?
I got the slides running. That's it. I got the demo ready.
Cool.
This is probably the most.
All right. What's this guy? What's going on here?
The screen. Big screen. Nope, mine. It's all on mine today.
Oh, okay. So it's on.
Yeah.
Do I still have this?
It's just under the right screen.
Okay.
I can have the presenter view back.
That's fine. Okay. All right. We're going to kick things off. Welcome to meeting 74, going over the MITRE framework. So I don't know, how many of you have heard of MITRE, the MITRE Corporation before? Only a few? Okay. So I believe, they were founded a long time ago. I don't have the exact year. If someone wants to look that up,
They own the oldest .org domain in
Yeah.
existence.
They're one of like the oldest security research companies and other research companies in the world. And they have a lot of really, really great content. Their framework is being used to categorize how like advanced persistent threats act. They have done just a lot of really, really cool research on tools, tactics, and procedures. So the MITRE framework is something that's continuously being used and improved upon in today's enterprises and world governments. So this is some really cool stuff. I don't think, is anyone here new? I don't think so. No? Okay. Go ahead and turn over to Mike for the announcements.
All right, so in case you are wondering, NSA applications are due. The window is closing. October 31st is the final deadline. We already passed one of the deadlines, so if you're interested in that, jump on it ASAP, because this is a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity with Cincinnati, since you get your resume reviewed ahead of time. Also, this past weekend we had the NSA Codebreaker Challenge Hackathon, and it went really well. We actually made a lot of progress. I got a chance to communicate with an NSA operative during it, which is pretty cool. So, yeah, it was a fun time.
Yeah, I think we're like 5th or 6th in the nation in terms of points now. UC is, so we're above Georgia Institute of Technology and some other schools, which is pretty cool. It was fun.
Also, big news from our finance chapter, or finance committee. UFB Defcon funding has been approved, so that is something that we're planning for in about a year. AJ, do you want to give up details about what Defcon is? And
Yeah, so who knows what Defcon is already? Does anyone know what Defcon is already? I'm sure a number of you do. Yeah, so it's basically one of like the largest cybersecurity hacker conferences in the world. It's definitely one of the more longer going ones. It's like over 2 decades old now, and I think this one next year is going to be 27th year they're doing it. It's in Vegas for about like 4 or 5 days, but we got approved for funding for 6 people to go to Vegas from basically Monday to Monday. We'll be able to do some Black Hat social events. Black Hat's another security conference that happens right before DEFCON, also in Vegas, really awesome. So we'll be able to have the first couple days for networking, and then the latter half of the week we'll be competing in the DEFCON Capture the Flag Challenge and attending some of the conferences and talks they're going to have. It should be a great time. And yeah, so we actually just got our hotel reserved. So
huge opportunity.
Yeah, huge opportunity. Plane tickets cannot be paid for by UC, but we have everything else comped. And for going, since it's in Vegas, we ought to be 21 plus for venues and stuff.
So details of that will be released as they come out.
Yeah, it's still like it's August 5th through 11th of
next year.
So
we've got a long time to kind of figure out exactly what we're doing and who's going and stuff like that.
Yeah, plenty of time.
So we've been talking about this a while, but remember, it's in a couple weeks now, but Saturday, November 3rd, 4 p.m. to 8 p.m., we're going to Chipotle, the whole chapter, everybody.
We all better be at Chipotle, man. Get them burritos, get that paper.
Yeah.
We have friends bring them too.
Yeah, gotta get the dosh.
And then, once again, in case you guys haven't done it yet, stop by with Hayden after the meeting. He's going to be doing some headshots for the chapter website.
Yeah, so if you want to be on the About page, come get your headshot taken. You don't have to, it doesn't matter. No, I know no one's dressed up. We pretty much cropped out the shirt anyway, so. You can look at the
close up of your face, just your eyes.
You can look at the About page now to see how I crop the photos, so.
We don't show any ears.
We do show
eyes,
ears.
nose, and
Definitely.
mouth. That's it.
No ears, extra eyes.
And then kind of bigger news, we are moving forward with the officer elections. Every chapter of every organization has to have some turnover. So we are moving forward with that process. I don't know if you guys saw my email and my post in Slack, but those are all of the up-to-date nominations. I did see Iggy had nominated himself for a public affairs.
It is
the
nominees are on the next slide, by the way.
Oh, they are? Okay. So I guess we're going to show all those, but just kind of keep things in mind. If you've been nominated or you nominated yourself, basically what you're going to have to do is prepare a short speech. I guess it'll be kind of done based on position. I mean, like if you're president, probably have some sort of like a presentation, if that's what you're running for, right?
Every role should have just a speech.
Yeah,
short speech,
something like
something
a
to tell the
goal that you want to go for, a direction, whatever you want to do. I mean, this whole chapter is kind of built around where we want to go with it, and we've got to find new people to take it over. So, with that in mind, I mean, think about this stuff. I mean, it's really important. I mean, I won't be here forever. AJ won't be here forever. So, people
Corey
gotta
won't be here forever.
Yeah.
You can nominate yourself, or you can nominate somebody else if you think they're a good fit for any one of the positions. And if you're thinking about it at all, you have to do it in like the next couple days, because next week we're actually going to be doing speeches from people, and we'll be voting from everyone who pretty much shows up, and we'll do probably Google form so other people who are live streaming can be able to throw in their vote.
So it's a big deal, but keep it in mind. It's coming up. Here, I guess, are all the people that are nominated. We got 3 right now nominated for president. AJ, Cliff, and Ryan have all been nominated. 1 candidate right now for vice president. Woo! Running uncontested right now. 2 for treasurer, Ryan and Cliff. Secretary, we got Timothy Robert Holstein. Head of content, Chris Morrison. Head of finance, Kyle Hardison and Ryan O'Connor. Public affairs, Jai. And now 3 for outreach between Grace Mahathi and Ryan Young, and recruitment, Greg. So those are all the positions that we have right now. I guess public affairs, Jai and Iggy. So
Yeah.
these are, you can nominate yourself. You know, this is a volunteer organization. You know, you get to decide how much work you want to help with and how much you want to be a part of this. So this is where we are right now, and we'll be moving forward with this.
Yeah. So definitely, just a note to mention, if you are interested in any of these positions, we're not gonna like just throw you into it and not help you out at all. We have our executive meetings, and everybody who's kind of on the executive team, we all help each other out. We all scratch each other's backs. So I wouldn't be afraid of like, oh, I'm just gonna drown. It's not gonna be that bad. Not gonna be that bad. Cool.
All right, time for weekly content. Perfect timing, Corey.
Okay, so we're going to start off with more information about supply chain attacks again this week. It's been real popular these last couple of weeks. Vesta CP was just the victim of a supply chain attack. For anyone who doesn't know what it is, I was looking into it. It seems to be just like some sort of platform you can use if you're running like multiple different websites and you've got to manage like the websites, email addresses for them, DNSs, databases, all that stuff. Vesta CP is supposed to like help you do that. Over the last couple of months, they've had their users they've been contacting their users saying, hey, you're using a lot more bandwidth than seems normal. Is this you? What's going on? And it turns out that a lot of their users have been getting used to make DDoS attacks. For anyone who doesn't know what those are distributed denial of service attacks. It's where you get like a bunch of machines to attempt to denial of service some other service, I guess. So like if you want to DDoS Facebook, for example, you get, say, a botnet, which we might bring up later this week or maybe another week.
Bring it now.
Okay. Botnets are basically like if I go out and I hack just a bunch of IoT devices, like I believe I mentioned earlier this semester, the Mirai botnet. You go out, you hack a bunch of webcams, routers, just devices that have internet access, and you use them in order to make a denial of service attack. Like I believe specifically these were being used to do SYN scans or SYN connections. What?
SYN floods.
Yes, SYN floods. I was trying to remember the DDoS term for that. Basically, you attempt to make just a bunch of TCP connections, and that just DDoS's whatever service you're attacking.
If you're unaware, the Mirai botnet was like one of the largest DDoS botnets to date, and it was revealed like 2 years ago. And the people who made it, they were using it to make money on Minecraft. It was a really weird chain of events.
They were using it to DDoS the Minecraft servers.
Yeah, they were like rigging fights in Minecraft or some weird thing.
Well, what happened is like they tried to say that they were using it to DDoS Minecraft servers, which they did do.
Yeah.
Then they started selling their service on the dark web.
And then it took down the internet for the East Coast.
Yes.
Yeah, because they
Amazon.
went and they released the source code for it when the FBI started closing in, and there's like, oh, no, couldn't have been us because the source code's out there.
Everyone has it.
Yeah.
It came from our IP address.
Yep. So, where was I? Right. So what they were using, it's a malware specifically called Cha-Cha DDoS. We've seen it before. It's like a variant from its own family of just DDoS malwares. You can go ahead and look more into it if you're interested. What happened was the Vesta CP servers got hacked back in, I think I put it down in here somewhere. It was in like March or May. Okay, there it is, May. Back in May of this year, they got hacked and malware was injected into their servers so that anyone who downloaded an updated version of Vesta CP since then now has malware embedded in Vesta CP. So if you do use Vesta CP, I recommend patching it. So this attack was just kind of broken down into 3 separate stages. There's this persistent stage, which you see a lot. That's basically this malware is taking some sort of steps to ensure that it can stay on your computer, even if, say, you shut it down or you delete the file. They'll have something else hidden somewhere that'll say, oh, it's gone, reinstall it. Then just kind of sticking with that, then they move on to the download phase, where they download from some IP address in that range. They download the piece of malware, which then downloads the actual DDoS tasks whenever they're sent out. So if I wrote the malware, I'd be like, oh, someone just paid me to DDoS Hayden's website. So I make a task and I send it to everyone who I've infected, and I say, hey, go DDoS this domain. And suddenly there's a SYN flood attacking Hayden's website.
Rude.
libSSH has an authentication bypass. A really, really easy authentication bypass. So it turns out that libSSH, when it would receive a SSH message, user auth success message, it never bothered to check if the message came from the server or the client. So you go in, you attempt to log into some server, but then instead of like actually trying to log in, you just send a user authentication success message instead of a user authentication request, and it just goes, oh yeah, okay, cool, login was successful, awesome, you're authenticated. Go on in there, and you don't need a password or anything. You just get right in there. Showdown did a search. They think something like 6,500 different servers were currently vulnerable to this. I think the article was from like Monday. So that's a lot of servers that were not yet patched. Fortunately, OpenSSH, which is like super popular, and then the way GitHub uses libSSH make them not vulnerable. So there is that. So like general like users, like if you just happen to have a computer with SSH in it, probably not vulnerable. But if you have a server, you probably have like libSSH in there in some way. Might want to get that checked out. This last one, there's a security researcher. They said Spanish, so I assume he's from Spain, not Mexico. He's just an amateur security researcher. He just does this for fun. About 2 weeks ago, he found a bug in iOS that allowed you to bypass like the whole password system and be able to like access photos and send them through text messages. And Apple did patch that, but he just found like a few days ago another easier way to do basically the same thing. This does currently work on all iPhones, so you guys can like try this out yourselves on your own iPhones. I'm gonna go ahead and do I have like access to, okay, there it is. I want to follow this link because I want to show you guys him doing it. It's hard to see from all the way over there. There you go.
You missed it by a bit. You clicked below it.
I did.
Yeah.
The struggles.
Yeah.
And then
Go
you
down.
gotta
Go down.
below it. Oh, there you go.
I could just open
Do
link,
that
can't I?
one.
Yeah.
Do it, yeah.
Click it. Click.
Wrong. Did
Click it.
you click it yet?
Yes.
Click it.
Okay. There we go.
Does it have to be in Spanish?
He speaks in Spanish the whole time, so. Not that I think you guys are gonna hear it though.
There's no sound.
Yeah, there's no sound. But you can check it out yourselves. Not that you're likely to understand him unless you speak Spanish.
Does anyone want to translate for us?
So basically, he's utilizing Siri and this voiceover feature, which is meant to help like people who are sight impaired. And then basically, like your photos kind of come up and that's him. He's scrolling through photos right now. You see that little white square? And he's about to paste it in as soon as he chooses one. And there it is. There's a photo, a photo, photo. He's just scrolling through the photos on this phone. And he's just adding them into this message, and he can send that to whoever.
How? It's a weird bug.
Yeah, so there's a detailed list of steps in this article. Like, there's more links. It goes on, like...
With no succeed at the first try.
He goes through it, like, a couple of different ways, so...
How do you stumble across that?
Yeah, that's just through a locked phone.
Yeah, through a locked phone. It's locked. He doesn't have the password.
What the heck?
Yeah, it only takes him about 2 minutes to get access to those photos, so... If you think that's cool, I guess check it out. There's a detailed list of like steps you can do, and it's again every version of iOS right now on every piece of iOS hardware is currently vulnerable. So if you have an iPhone, you can spend all the time you want doing this at home. The top article: Who is Agent Tesla? Agent Tesla is sadly not some sort of secret agent working at Tesla leaking info like I hoped it was. It is a password cracking software. And this article is about how they managed to track down who this guy is. He's like just some dude in the Ukraine. Basically, he registered the website like agenttesla.com or something like that. And then in 2014, but he didn't block who owned the IP, or sorry, the DNS until 2016. So we had a rough idea he probably owned it. And then he had like a YouTube video, YouTube videos posted under an account attached to that email address. And those YouTube videos were also linked to in the Discord that he has for product support for Agent Tesla. I thought it was really funny he used a Discord for that. So they're basically like, yeah, it's him. And they're kind of working to try and extradite him so that they can try him for this. They did something similar with someone who was running like you upload malware to these websites and you run them against like antivirus stuff like VirusTotal does. There were websites who were doing that, but they were not sharing the results with the antivirus companies. We had a couple of them go to jail last year, and they're trying to use that as precedent to get this guy. Amazon's free real-time operating system has some vulnerabilities in it. You can check that out. The US, turns out, is actually hosting like 35% of the world's command and control servers, apparently. I'm going to take a random guess that those are probably just getting hosted on AWS, and that's why they're all here. Tumblr had a vulnerability. They have no evidence that information was actually stolen, but people could have accessed email addresses, current passwords, previous passwords, last login IPs. So if you have a Tumblr account, I recommend you change that information. That's another article about the same thing. People are trying to steal manuscripts from book publishers. That's a recent trend that's apparently just started. This article is about like, okay, so you did get breached. How are you going to get your customers to come back? Because like every time a company announces that they're breached, it's why none of them like to talk about it. You always see that dip in sales and stock prices, etc. Gray Energy, we talked about them like 2 weeks ago, I think. They had like that. They managed to cause a blackout through a piece of malware. They're doing botnets now, but there's a side group within them that's still trying to do blackout stuff. And then Dark Pulsar, there were a couple of really detailed articles that came out that I recommend you guys check out if you have an interest in that. It's kind of an older piece of malware. It's why I didn't cover it in the news. Almost done. So speaking about punishing people who create hack tools and sell them instead of using them themselves, that's what that first article is about. He just got jail time. Some streaming tool, I forget the name, had some flaws. Oh, okay, I did mention this. I think it was before the semester started, but Google is being sued for like 5 billion euros by the EU in an antitrust suit So they just came out and they said, okay, well, because of the lawsuit, we're now going to start charging to use our apps in Europe now. So if you're yeah, they are very obviously not happy about this lawsuit. So be glad you don't live in Europe if you like to use Google Apps, I guess. But speaking of Google, Windows has just announced that they're going to be taking one of Google's patches to use for themselves in order to prevent the Spectre patches. Spectre and Meltdown, you guys probably heard about it last December. Basically, they're like, yeah, we can patch it, but it's going to slow down your computer. Well, this helps to reduce some of that slowdown for the Spectre 2 patch. And Facebook is looking to make some serious cybersecurity acquisitions in terms of like buying up some companies or something. So.
So we kind of talked about what MITRE is earlier. It's a non-profit, basically security research company, and they're in Virginia right now, or at least the part we'll be looking at is. So this is just going to be quick content today. Yep. So I don't think we've ever really defined cyber, and this is, cyber at UC. So let's go ahead and do that real quick. So if you're a business person, cyber is the internet and services. That's AWS and all kinds of internet things. If you're, a malicious hacker, a black hat, it's a new place to steal. If you're a government, it's probably a new place to fight. But I was talking to somebody from OSU, and I said, I work in cyber. And they said, isn't that having phone sex over Omegle? Is the exact quote. It's called cybering. And no. So
It's a separate thing I do.
Do it in my free time.
This is now a sex worker.
No. So MITRE attack is adversarial tactics, techniques, and common knowledge. So it's basically like the Wikipedia on malware and APT behavior. It's actually quite interesting. I stumbled upon it last Tuesday. It's run by the nonprofit MITRE, which is near DC, which we also just learned is the company that holds the oldest .org domain still active. And basically, if you want to know anything about how advanced persistent threats behave on like a personal level, or how they design their tools, it's a great read. So we're actually just going to dive right in. They have about 1,200 techniques that malware has used since like 2000, and this is one of the easier ones they found. So getting root on a Linux box or getting persistence on it is kind of an interesting thing because you can't really do it the same way you would do it on Windows. It's obviously a different OS altogether. So one of the simplest ways that malware has been infecting Linux servers basically is that they'll dump into the bashrc file, and then they'll just basically wait until a user types sudo, and then they'll hook into sudo through an alias, and then it'll run their script as root in the background as the user keeps doing things. So this only requires user level access, which is pretty interesting. So we're just going to do a red team activity tonight, and then do a blue team activity at the end of it. Our red team activity is basically us. If you have a Linux VM, this would be a great time to break it out and just try to hack yourself. Yeah. So I'll kind of go over how this works, though. If you don't know what .bashrc is, where's my mouse pointer? It's a script file that runs basically every time you open bash on your computer, which is the command prompt on Linux. On Mac, I believe it's called bash_profile. And some Linux distributions do that. It's really 50-50. So this kind of lets you piggyback off the system admin just typing sudo. And they'll basically never know as long as you are sneaky about it.
So a lot of you should have your Windows, or not Windows,
Yeah.
Linux VMs from our past meeting, hopefully. So we'll be able to do some more interesting things. Yeah, and the dot in front of the files, for those of you that don't know, that means it's a hidden file. So if you're in your home directory, which would just be a little tilde, and you hit ls, you wouldn't see bashrc or bash profile pop up unless you do ls space -la to list all. You want to put your terminal up?
I am. I'm going to take my API keys out of it first.
Oh man, you can share that.
We're all your friends here.
Yeah.
And on YouTube.
And everyone who will watch our video in the future, they're your friend too.
Oh no. Yeah. Alright. Okay, now it's fine. So, maybe it's going. It's full screen. So this is an example of a bash RC file. This is actually the one that I run on my laptop that just kind of came with my distribution. Mostly it's just terminal coloring stuff. Somewhere I have a mouse pointer. Alright, there it is. Yeah. So, you know, basically it just goes through this line by line every time you open bash, and it just runs bash. Pretty easy. So there's things like, you know, grep is default, will have color on as long as I'm doing it through my terminal, and just some wrappers for ls. Pretty simple stuff. I can actually bring my bash window up. So, you know, ll makes everything nice and pretty.
UC Cyber, what's that?
I don't know.
You want to zoom in on your command? Oh, you got it there.
I did. Right.
So what are we doing?
What am I doing?
What are we doing?
What's the problem again?
What's
So the goal is to put a line into your own bash RC file that when you open terminal, it'll wait until you type in the sudo. So everyone knows what sudo is, right? So sudo is basically like the run as admin for a command on Linux.
Stands for super user do.
Yes. So like, you know, apps update, if I want to see what software updates I have, it gives me an error because I don't have permission. So I do sudo apt update, and then I type in my secret password. And then it runs because I'm now the admin and I'm allowed to make changes to the software on my computer. So something else you can do in bash is called alias. You can also do this in PowerShell, I think. So these are all the aliases that are currently loaded if you just run it by default. So you could do something, say alias sudo, and then my bad script, that, you know, bash, sh, and then you could unalias sudo. So that'll actually run.
what do you do? Yeah, what does it do?
What does that do? Well, that one's actually broken, so let me undo that real quick. So alias, you take in, you just give it like a keyword, and then you give it a command to run. When it's done with that, let me actually refresh my bash terminal so you guys can't see cool stuff. Yeah. Yeah, you can kind of see my SSH things. All right, so if I went to say make, what's not a command? ABCD. Not a command. So I can do alias ABCD equals, you know, man ls. Just anything arbitrarily. And I can do ABCD after that. It'll actually autofill. And then it'll open. Yeah, so it's basically a pointer, but for an entire command. And you can actually just do an insane amount of stuff through that.
So where does it save that? Like, does it save?
If you just do alias through bash, it's non-persistent, so it'll just, as soon as you close bash, it's gone.
Oh,
You know,
okay.
you can also unalias it if you don't want to use it. So unalias ABCD and it's gone from the list. I can't do it anymore. But typically, if you want it to stick around, you put it in bash RC. So what you can do is alias sudo. And we can do sudo at the end to make our command keep going. Something like unalias sudo, so it'll hide our sneakiness. And then before that, we could do like wget. It's a PyVPN one. This is an example. We could download our payload from somewhere on the internet and run it. We just copy the PyVPN one. So, alias sudo. So when we run sudo, it actually runs that command and then keeps going. So if I do my sudo apt update again, you can see it's downloading because it's very loud now.
and it actually just downloaded and ran a script as admin. I don't want this. A script that I don't want to run. All right, we'll get rid of that terminal. All right.
So explain.
So you can see the power
what you're
behind
doing.
this, I guess.
So what you're doing is essentially masquerading another command as sudo.
Yeah, that's one way of doing it. You can also literally just dump in like, run this bot script every time the terminal opens, and
And
then
you could use any command. It's just that
Yeah, it
sudo
could
is
be any
pretty
command.
commonly used. So.
yeah, this is just an easy way to do it.
Plus, it gives you automatic root access.
All right, so if people would like to try it around at their desks, I'll try to close this window that I didn't want.
So what's the alias? What are they trying to do? What's the problem on the slides?
Oh yeah, that'd be helpful. So our activity,
We are FBI.
you are an FBI agent with user access to the new Silk Road server. So what you want to do is try to infect your bash RC or bash profile so you can piggyback off the system admin just doing sudo without them being able to see it.
So you do that by aliasing sudo,
Yeah.
essentially.
Basically.
Just alias sudo equals, and then whatever your malicious command line will be. Really, that's it.
Yeah.
That's
That's
crazy
pretty-
simple. Yeah.
Yep.
And do you need sudo to edit bash RC?
For what?
Do you need sudo to edit bash?
No, you don't need, this is all user space, so if you can log in as a user, you can edit their bash RC typically. You can set it so it's root only access, but almost no one does that. You might do that after you know this.
So we know what we got to do. Feel free to pair up with somebody. See if you can get a little, alias written for about anything. Pseudo alias, just to kind of get the idea down. And we'll spend, 15 minutes on this? And then
Let's do like 10 minutes on this.
Yeah, 10 minutes. So we got about 10 minutes. We'll come around, help you out, do what you got to do. And let's try and...
If anyone's at all confused, please ask for help. Got a large hangnail. It's a powerful one.
What's that mean?
So bash is just on the terminal. So when you're on the terminal itself and you interact with it, so let's say LS, that's bash. So everything from the terminal itself
And if, guys, remember the man command. MAN space alias will also tell you the manual for alias. I think we'll do a lot of that. Yeah, oh, man. There's not an entry for alias. Holy shit.
Really?
Yeah, that's the first command I ever seen.
I think it's because it's built into bash. It's not an
Yeah.
actual command.
I think you can do help
alias
alias.
dash H.
Yeah.
And then it'll
I think you can do helping alias.
Yeah.
alias help alias.
Yeah, because help is the command for looking up.
It's not actually an executable.
It's just
It's part of the shell.
yeah, it is help alias. Wow, so there's man, there's dash A, dash H, and there's help. Yeah, so basically, if the pseudo command dash, this guy right there, that's to give you super users.
That's probably there's Tim Hortons on campus now, so that's probably
So
not
that
all
gives you
of
super user ability, right?
What do you want, Tim Hortons?
Yeah,
You would always fit
it's like running something he's at, right? So when you pseudo,
Tim Hortons. I was thinking where's the Tim Hortons? It's in the new
pseudo,
by Morgan's.
So what makes it,
but when you put alias.
What? I never heard of that.
Yeah.
Pseudo.
I was talking about daylight.
You're saying when you type sudo now, it will run the ls
I know you
command.
love your template.
So you might not have the privileges to do that.
You have a lot of
But then when you run sudo,
Yeah.
it lists.
This is first year.
You guys getting it all right? Bash or CD, so if you just type CD and nothing, just CD you're at home. And you can,
So how do we make it so that we can also do
bash or CD, bash or
So you can just change our commands.
It runs the whole line.
Literally copy paste whatever
Okay, so
Or you not.
well, I'm just thinking like, so if I want to do some command, right, like semicolon and then the command that you're saying.
You say my name?
I did.
Yeah.
Well, I'm doing a different command. I'm just wondering like that the other command takes input. So if I just do
Yeah.
semicolon that command,
Don't do
will
spaces.
it just use whatever
Bash
other
doesn't-
input?
that bash isn't how it works.
Oh no, this would just be super annoying. That's why.
Dude, that's
I'm aliasing CD
Yes.
to navigate backwards. Not directory every time.
We do that one. Alias sudo rmrf.
Does anyone have any questions? We all kind of understand what's going on.
Just kind of go like.
We're all good?
Whatever you put in your alias will literally just be copied and pasted straight into your bash, into your so you gotta write this in bash receipt. What? You have to write this in bash receipt, which already exists. How would you do that?
We edit the bash or C file.
Like, then? Oh.
Oh, if you do alias, it will just sit whatever your current bash is.
Oh, okay.
Go away.
Yeah, bash receipt. I still haven't put your conflicts in.
Do you got it?
Something else there.
Okay, so you're gonna need to put so bash RC, if I'm correct, runs the commands that it has.
Yeah, every time you run dash,
And
just run everything. Bash receipt 1.
alright, so bash RC, you need to edit bash RC. You don't need to do an alias for bash RC. Just edit, or are you saying edit bash RC with the alias?
Yeah.
Edit with the alias?
Yeah, you just dump your alias in there, and then next time you open a shell, we'll just put your alias right there for you.
That's like this. So when you're saying sudo and then like what are you doing?
That's a good idea.
I thought
nano bash receipt.
yeah, I thought you would nano bash RC and then you would drop your alias sudo equals in the bash RC. Yeah, I don't know what I'm doing. Edit the bash RC.
Nano, we got bash receipt, which is in your shell.
What's the name of your game, man? Core. Alright. Coming along alright?
I'm trying
Okay, so you're on Windows. So that is not bash.
Not as
Is that obvious?
Okay, just control C that, and then you edit, and then space,
You guys are
and then that bash
Yes.
receipt.
Yeah, so
You can just go right to it. You don't have to navigate
Because
the
you're gonna
folder.
You're in
there you go. Now,
See that
see
solo?
if you can
Oh,
drop
so
that alias
like,
in the
you
bash
can
RC
use
so it's executed every single time.
Oh.
You
It's forward slash.
start
Where? Oh, there it is.
Yeah, you can also do PWD.
See, I didn't know that. So I could actually just nano bash RC.
Yeah.
Or VI.
Or you could use them, and then we could laugh as you try to exit it.
See, I don't. That's why I don't like them. I've never actually gotten figured it out.
Except for the computer on your side.
what you should do is You understood how.
Dude, it's so frustrating. I like calling W cubes.
Yeah, exactly.
So I mean, that's what you have to do. That's
You want to go into.
I just copy and pasted the tidy.
$LA.
Tidy again script,
Now
which
you
is.
can see this file right here, bash.rc.
So
You can do whatever
Go
you
ahead
want.
and
If you want to download like a bot or something, you can do that one.
space docs.
Oh yeah, replace those with single quotes. Yeah.
See how tab will show you options. So type in VAS.
So my company is back on. So
Now it's going to print you out what is in your bash. So
Well, understand so whatever you write, it's one copy and paste here, and user types it.
you can set it to see how many aliases here. So you can.
Oh, so I saw you did something like this right there at the end of it.
Just keep going back.
And how.
And then yeah, and so then
That will just keep.
Oh, it says forever.
At least it's okay.
So
Yeah, so for that.
You type in
one, you can even
alias
force
pseudo equals C.
I'm
Sorry,
trying
to.
Yeah.
Alright, how are we in time, Chris?
I feel like
How are we in time?
This is 10.
Huh?
Let's do 5 more minutes. 5 more minutes.
Yeah. And then we'll do.
But you pull back the server out. We had the same problem with our some of our PLC code. So old PLCs don't hold it. Yeah. But then you just left out the memory, so you have I have a hard time.
I'm trying to recollect. When I was typing that. Yeah.
So who still hasn't gotten it?
Much of a hassle is. Just wanted to say you paid to somebody else. Actually, I want to send everybody one.
Pseudo NCAP.
What is that?
NCAP?
Yeah.
Just a TCP opener, but you can.
This is made for like electronics.
So like another bash. So
We call our workers to understand.
Used to use computers.
Okay.
So you can
Now when you know how to
have
explain
dash E, bash. Actually, the default one has that. You may have to install a fancy one.
Yeah, I'm in my cyber
Sudo cat. Yeah. Dash L. And that's dash P works. Oh, what he, yeah, we did like 80 years. And then I forget what 80 is. Isn't that like such a perfect? Okay.
So we'll give this a couple more minutes, and then we're going to show you how to detect this action.
And then, yeah, that would actually work by itself. And then if you do.
So this is just listening to that port, right?
Yeah, you should give it like a.
Still, so it's definitely a one-time password that should be just posted. So the client ID.
Not 9%. I don't think so. So what that means is actually for one that is in separate process.
Yeah.
So if you listen this right here, you can only try.
Yeah.
Really? So until you close the batch session, which that process lives off of, that'll stay with it.
Like what'll say, like port being listened
Yeah.
to?
Port.
Oh,
So that's just a raw connection, so you can actually run that and then just connect back to you and then type like big commands for yourself.
What's the
Whoa, bro, dude.
In Bash, run his new process. Or run it this way.
Whoa, dude, your keyboard layout's fucked. That's why.
Oh.
It
Well,
it
this,
thinks you have like a keyboard layout.
So it makes it so it doesn't print anything, basically. Like it just says keep running.
Keyboard.
That'll interrupt it, so it'll keep it from interrupting. So if you just do like, netcat, it'll be like, oh, netcat, and then all these weird options, I don't understand that.
Yeah, so then the user won't actually see it.
Yeah,
Should be a way to set your.
Okay, so how do I know if I'm on like the user end? This is like
this end.
Maybe it's in Ubuntu.
Like the editing end, like, you know, the hacker end. Like,
That's a weird question. But I don't know. If you were like,
well, I guess, like,
There we go.
I mean, I'm just trying to understand, like, what it's going to look like from the user's perspective versus ours.
just save that and then open a new batch of it.
Shouldn't give you like the option to set. Does that happen in now? I think that was.
Oh, wait, yeah, I forgot about that.
And then just do databases, make sure.
So
So just do like sudo.
Oh, there it is.
Yeah, sudo apt. It doesn't want that. Yeah, you got it.
Yeah.
Just close your software.
Vim's awesome. You try now.
What is up with them? How do you use them? Do you know?
You learn to fly a spaceship, and then somehow working for
Press the I if you want to actually put any stuff out. And then you know how to use it if you want to know people that are like jobs that are so complex.
Space pseudo
Thing at the very bottom of the screen.
Yeah.
And you can WQ work on list to right quit or just Q to quit.
I know how to do that one. I just don't want to.
I'm
Oh,
pretty
okay.
good at
Picks.
It's not even like
Yeah.
But I just work on just one. I just get like
That semicolon and save.
Yeah,
But
you get it. There's a lot of really people here in back. I
wonder why that's we're overriding our names and I think it was just like, yeah,
so when I do that from,
Just open a new batch.
like, this is hacker side. I do
No, I
this on this side.
It's
source and that will refresh. Like, why can't I not just save it?
Save
The dot bash.
Because once it's executed by a bash on
So
startup,
I think when you open up the batch after
Oh.
there's higher privilege.
Okay.
See?
Oh, well, let's see, like, semicolons.
No, these are the other ones,
I
I
have
guess.
to do all this research for this content.
Oh,
That was
well,
Chris.
Those are completely.
Chris did all this research for this content.
Alright, process.
I just, I kind of around.
Alright, yeah, that's fine.
So do we want to learn how to detect this? Yeah? Or do we want to keep doing this? Detect it? Detect it?
Alright.
We good? You all want to learn how to detect it?
Detected after the fact.
Cool.
So the next part of our activity is going to be like the blue team reciprocal of this. So let's say you work in a CSOC, or just a SOC, for a worldwide software company, and you do AV and IT stuff, but you also got other stuff to do. What was your friend's name? Who watches her?
Oh, Josh.
That's just for him. So basically, we're going to make a script now that'll try to detect this kind of activity. So I'm going to do this in Python, make it a little bit easier for myself. So if you don't know how to use Python, sorry kids. So the easy way we could do this is we could just watch. Let me actually just open it. All right, one day I'll figure out what I'm doing. If we watch the hash of that file, if someone were to write into it, that bash or C.
Do we know what a hash is? So it's essentially just a function that will take what that file is and come up with a short string to represent that file. So that MD5 hash right there is bash RC. If you did a bash RC and you have a hash that matches that, then everything inside that bash RC should be the same. If hashes match, it's the same file.
Yeah, and
Most of the
then
time.
if we add data into that bash RC file and then rehash it, it will be different. If I can type. So the hash changes because it's now new data. A hash is a one-way cryptographic function. So basically creates a unique identifier from input.
So yeah, if you're watching your stuff and you want to make sure that people aren't messing with your bash RC and putting things in there that you don't want, you can just have a check to make sure that the hashes on all the files you care about are still the same as when you last checked them. And that is how any virus does a lot of its checking too. It looks for just the hashes of files that have been dropped on your computer or downloaded, which is interesting.
So we could do something like original hash equals, you know, and just kind of watch what bash RC looks like. So this would be a simple way of doing it in Python that I'm kind of just making up as we go. It's fun because I can't. Close, oh crap.
Like after you open, you have to do like a comma R for read.
Yeah. It's been a while since I used popen, so thank you.
So yeah, I don't know why you use popen with that open. We use no S commands.
You're right. Oh god. This is not well thought out. So, you know, we can do basically a Python script to like just kind of watch the hash of that file and look for changes to it. And then if we're, you know, writing an alert kind of program, we can just send that to our security center. I'm going to stop trying to write that script now. So, if you guys would like to try to write that script to detect what you've done, feel free.
Yeah.
That's all I got.
So, this is a
What's happening?
little review on how to detect and how to do a little bit of
What happened
malicious, what could be malicious red team activity. Or if you ever have access to one of your friends' computers and just want to screw with them harmlessly, you could remap their sudo to be something like ls or something that just wouldn't make any sense. So every time they try to run a command as sudo, it'd just be a listing of their files. Yeah, don't remove their root directory. It's not nice.
Alright. I want to try to remember how popen works.
Ooh, so Syslog, that's something he put up there. So Syslog is a really, really great tool that's used a lot for monitoring infrastructure. Syslog essentially will take logs from your system, and you can use it to pipe them over the network. You can use them to pipe them to another computer to monitor those logs. So Syslog is what you would pretty much use after you detect there's a change in hash. You could pipe that information using Syslog to a box or another computer on your network that you use to monitor stuff, right? And you can just check all the logs on that log box, that log host, to see what's happening in your larger network. So that's kind of one of the bits of building a security operations center. Checking hashes, piping logs. Pipe those logs. Piping them logs. Don't do it over clear text. Bad idea. Let's see. I think you're figuring out the popen stuff.
Yeah, it was definitely the wrong module.
So yeah, we'll give them a couple more minutes to figure out the if we can get this Python script up and working and show you guys. But if you haven't already edited the bash RC file and got your alias to work, go ahead and try to finish that up real quick. And then we are good to go. I think we're going to be taking headshots too after the meeting. I know Hayden said that, but I'm just going to say it again to remind everybody. If you want a nice headshot, nice little pretty picture of yourself, you put that on your social medias, right? Yeah, that's what you can do. You can get a headshot. You guys enjoy this kind of stuff? You enjoy the hands-on stuff, or do you like the lecture-esque stuff more? Do you think that when it gets around this time of the year, like exam time, should we focus more on like just giving you content, or focus more on like hands-on stuff? I just want to hear like opinions, personal opinions. Anybody, if you have any preferences? Your preference?
Hands-on stuff's a lot better.
Hands-on?
Yeah.
Hands-on
Like
stuff
a
you like?
lecture start the day.
Okay, yeah, I feel, yeah.
Fair point.
Yeah, didn't know. Sometimes you just don't want to think anymore. Come here and then doing stuff is more thinking.
Get to see something with value.
Well, I also like to try it,
Yeah, I agree.
Get a chance to
personally
actually
like hands-on.
try.
I learn better hands-on.
what we're doing.
Yeah.
One day I'll figure out this group.
You got it. You got it.
I'm getting closer. my battery's about to die.
Jeez.
Well, I might have accidentally turned that off already in Bash RC, and I don't know
What's up?
if turn that off.
Delete the entire operating system. And start
Oh,
from scratch.
I didn't like that.
Okay. No process found.
Try to kill and see.
And see new process.
Yeah.
Hold on, I'm not sure if that's right.
Anyone do anything interesting for Halloween next week? Going to OU or anything? No. No one? No. Okay. I highly recommend OU. OU has great Halloween weekend. It's a lot of fun. Like 30,000 extra people are there.
No, they're from like a friend who like DJs a little serious production on the side.
Oh, there we go.
They didn't try, they didn't care. But this guy was, they didn't ask this time either. The guy was just like, hey, do you want these? And they're like, yes. But
Yeah, go right ahead, man.
it was too much for that room, honestly. That room was like a quarter of this size. Yeah, it was.
Yeah, mostly just like there's someone like
Oh man, I would try. Oh yeah.
because I don't want to go out and be like making like Thursday.
And I turned it over that first test and it looked like a sound check and it made one of the blinds fall off the wall. Like they were trying to itself and it fell.
I maybe try it. Okay.
Yeah,
Like that approach.
Yeah, I got something like there's like 15 drops.
even the models.
Okay, cool. Then I did get rid of that. I did. Nano.
It's like opening something up in
Bash RC.
I had a good time. Nobody really cared. We were that bad. They were that terrible. They weren't that bad. I think there were a few bad transitions. Like we weren't that bad.
Now you're in it, so you just pseudo and then you onwards for play mode. PS just shows
Normally,
And like all rappers have like random gunfire in the middle of their song. They're just like have a skip in the middle of it. It's like in the middle of a verse. Everybody says something else.
He's faster.
You think like smash buttons. That's like it's
I don't know.
and I have a little sound.
I like
airplane.
Teacher, what did he show us? PS dash PM.
That gives you all your processes.
What?
That gives you all your processes.
Yeah.
I can only imagine.
And I think he was showing us.
I'll bring it up to him and
Search for like user.
Yeah, that's
Like what process are being used by a certain user.
because I noticed a lot of my
Yeah, type it into.
Yeah, try grabbing them.
Yeah, if you pass it to grab it, it's.
and I don't know.
Yeah, this is like, this semester is like one of my first times.
I say 5, that way.
It must be pretty neat, like getting into the computing stuff finally.
I know.
After being like all hardware basically, you get like a pretty broad spectrum.
It's pretty wild. I mean,
You're basically doing as opposed to double matrix.
I know. I'm trying to get like as broad of a grasp. Dude, I'm excited, but I'm also scared. So.
Should be. It's generally my favorite class. You just.
I mean, that same semester I'll be taking like, what are we taking, right? Beatles or something. Not Beatles. Woodstock. Wait, how?
Is that what they did?
Online or something like that.
Oh, yeah, it seems like everyone else already saw it. Seems like everyone started planning their Halloween back in like August.
What is that?
Alright, you almost done, or are we gonna rip things up?
Yeah, rip things up. I just gotta copy and paste this link.
Anyone want to retake electronics lab too?
No,
No, I didn't take it.
Oh yeah, that's right. You put Franklin, Bo, Dom, and
You did it over the summer. Basically, just made the lab with him, and then
Dude, that was
you
amazing.
guys can days.
It was an easy A. You just came every day. Ryan, so so I just emailed this chick. What do I email her? Hold on.
Oh, I just went to like a
Hold on. What am I? What is this?
yeah.
Right.
What is it? EDD like a starter? This is for the second floor.
Oh, Susan Mahoney. Yeah, I know Susan. I had a fun time on that side.
Yeah. Where is it?
I get followed by like.
AJ for Ryan.
Hey guys, this is a little off topic, but really, really cool. So University of Cincinnati last year and this year is going to be taking a group of students to Washington D.C. for like a week, and you tour through the NSA, FBI, CIA, Department of Homeland Security, and a couple of other small industries that all work in cybersecurity. Susan Mahoney's the head of that. I went, had a wonderful time. If you guys want to go, I have a couple business cards here. I don't know.
Do you know what you're going to have to meet with
I have no clue what the date says. It's just a Susan Mahoney. Do you want to
Have any background knowledge? I'm pretty clueless about things. Like I just asked her to stop cheating.
I don't know. You know,
Oh, okay.
I think it costs some money. It's still a great experience. Stuff to look into.
Invitation, cybersecurity executive review team.
Alright, I got something working.
It's like her title. I assume that's what it is.
Alright, you go.
Yeah, I don't know that.
All right.
Oh yes. Yeah.
The invitation.
You can go on the
All right. So Chris just finished his script to check.
What is this? The script.
1 second.
Okay.
You do the Q. You doing the colon Q?
Does it colon Q at the end of it?
Yeah, look. Wait, at the end of the command you just ran. Check the 5 colon Q. Why do you use colon Q?
That's not usually.
Oh, well, whatever.
We'll just do one.
All right.
It's not a big deal.
I made an attempt.
It's not a big deal.
I mean, we can revisit it next week.
Yeah, alright.
All right, guys. So we'll probably come with this code on how to detect it next week or whatnot, and we'll post that in Slack. But thank y'all for coming. And if you want some headshots, we'll have Hayden here take them. And yeah, thanks for coming.
So that started to look like.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The script kind of.
It was working right up until I tried to run it, so.
Alright,
Yeah.
so do you just run that and it'll tell you if anything has been written into your bash RC?
Yeah, so this is just an example script. Basically, it just finds the hash of this file, and then like every second it checks it again, and then if it's changed, it sends out an alert. It doesn't really do syslog here because I wrote this in 10 seconds. But yeah, so this is the kind of thing you would do. Really easy in Python. You could just hook that into a service or a daemon thread for Linux, and it would just run in the background forever. Easy.
Undo that one.
All right.
This is where
I hope you guys enjoyed this because I did.
Thank you, Chris.
Yeah,
This is really cool.
Thanks, Chris.
This is really hands-on stuff.